Good day each and everyone. I am Bainori Dalama and we are the reporter of Chapter 6, Predicting Price Change Response in Economic and Competitive Factors. And this is the contents of our reports, and the assigned topic to me is the price elasticity measure and observed price elasticities. This will require an understanding of the many factors that determine the market's response to a price change. The market's responsiveness to a price change is often referred to as the price sensitivity of the market. When a price change causes very little sales response, the market is said to be insensitive to the price change. When a price change causes a very large sales response, the market will be considered sensitive to the price change. In this book, we group the many factors that determine a market's price sensitivity into 4 categories: 1. Economic, 2. Competitive, 3. Cognitive, and 4. Emotional. Economic factors concern the amount of money involved in the price change and in responding to the price change. Competitive factors concern the action that the company's competitors take in response to the company's price changes. Cognitive factors concern the customer's awareness and knowledge of price levels and price meanings. Emotional factors concern the customer feelings about prices and price changes. Each of these categories of price change response factors will be discussed in some detail. In this chapter, we focus on economic and competitive factors. We first introduce a generally applicable numerical measure of the market's responsiveness to a change in a product price, and then discuss how economic and competitive factors can affect the degree to which a product price modification increases or decreases the product sales. The price elasticity measure. For efforts to predict price change response, it is very helpful to have a standard numerical measure of this response. Perhaps the simplest such measure will be to calculate a ratio by dividing the size of the sales change by the size of the price change that caused it. An advantage of this measure will be that it is intuitive. If a certain price change causes a small sales change, then the ratio will be a small number. If that same price change caused a large sales change, then the ratio will be a larger number. A larger ratio will thus indicate a greater price change response. This is the formula. Price elasticity will be referred to as E. Percentage changes of sales unit and a ratio of percentage change of price. The denominator in this definition is the size of the price change in percent terms. Note that this is always calculated as the percent change from the old price. If P is the level of the price after the price change and the PO is the price level before the price change or the old price, then this percent is as follows. Percentage changes of new price minus old price divided by old price multiplied by hundreds. The numerator in this definition is the percent change in sales units resulting from the price change. Note that this is always calculated as the percent change from the old sales level. If S is the level of unit sales after the price change and SO is the sales level before the price change, the old sales level, then this percent is as follows. Percentage changes of sales unit is equal to new sales minus previous sales divided by previous sales multiplied by hundreds. For example, if an increase of a product price from $10 to $12, a chance of 20%, results in a decrease in sales from 2,000 units to 1,400 units, a chance of 30%, then the price elasticity will be calculated as follows. 30% divided by 20% equal to negative 1.5. In words, this price elasticity will indicate that there will be a 1.5% sales decrease for every 1% increase in price. Note that a price elasticity can be calculated just as easily from a price decrease as from a price increase. For example, if a product price is decreased from $160 to $140, a chance of negative 12.5%, and this decrease causes an increase in sales from 340 units to 425 units, a chance of 25%, then the price elasticity will be as follows. 25% divided by 12.5% equal to 2%. This price elasticity value would indicate that there will be a 2% sales increase for every 1% decrease in price. Interpreting price elasticities. A price elasticity is calculated from a price increase or from a price decrease. The elasticity will usually be a negative number. This is because it is generally the case that when a product price is increased, there is a decrease in the number of units of the product that are sold. When a product price is decreased, it generally leads to an increase in unit sales. For example, the price elasticity for DVD rentals among seniors is negative 3, and then the price elasticity among young adults is negative 1.2. We will say that seniors show greater or higher price elasticity than young adults. This could be considered a little odd because negative 3 is a lower number than negative 1.2. However, this way of speaking makes sense because price elasticity are used to measure price sensitivity. Negative 3 does indicate a greater amount of price sensitivity than negative 1.2. The importance of starting points help remind us that the exact value of a price elasticity can be very much dependent on the price change situation.
I'm Raisa Armamumpun from BSBA MK3C. Economic factors affecting price change response. Although knowing the range of typical brand elasticities of some value, the 4-point range between 0 and 4 is still quite large. The evaluation of a prospective price change will always benefit from a somewhat more detailed price elasticity estimate. To arrive at this more detailed estimate, it is necessary to understand the factors that determine the market response to a price change. Because a price change involves a change in the amount of money that customers are required to pay, economic factors can have important effects on customers' price change response. These factors involve the financial implications to the customer of responding to the prospective price change. Consider the following four economic factors. First, amount of money involved in the price change. Customers can be expected to show a greater response to a price change the greater the amount of money that is involved in the price change. Thus, a $1,000 price increase for a new car is likely to affect customers more than a $0.20 price increase for a jar of mustard. Also, it is likely that a $0.20 price increase for a gallon of milk or a dozen eggs will affect consumers more than that same price increase for a jar of mustard. Why? Milk and eggs are usually purchased far more frequently than mustard, and thus a change in their prices involves a greater amount of money. In addition, all of these price change amounts are likely to have a greater effect on customers who have small incomes than on those who are well off. The extent of the reaction to the money involved in a price change is likely to be relative to the customer's wealth. Money will tend to be dearer to those who have less. Second, amount of the price change that the customer will actually pay. If we define customer as the person who is primarily responsible for making the purchasing decision, there are occasions when this decision maker is not also the person responsible for paying the full amount of a product's price. Example of this is when an individual has the authority to make the product purchase decision for other individuals. This occurs for products such as college textbooks and prescription drugs. The resulting low price sensitivity has been at least partially responsible for the many years of steady increases in the prices of these products. Third, customers switching cost. When switching from one brand to another is costly to a customer, then these switching costs are likely to impair a customer from responding to a price change. For example, if the price of new accounting software decreases, a business customer may resist switching for his or her more expensive system because of the necessary cost of retraining personnel in the use of the new system. If a cell phone services increases its price, consumers may be less inclined to switch to another service because such a switch would involve the cost of purchasing a new cellular phone. Fourth, customers search cost. When the process of evaluating the price or benefits of alternative brands is costly to a customer, then these search costs are likely to impair a customer from responding to a price change. For consumers, search costs would include the cost of gas, parking, and lost work time a consumer might incur in visiting numerous stores and the cost of discarding or returning items that were tried and deemed unsatisfactory. For business customers, search costs would include the cost of soliciting and evaluating proposals from a number of vendors and the cost involved in resolving the damages created by a new product that did not perform adequately. One way that understanding price change response factors can contribute to estimating a price elasticity is to determine the implication of those factors for the prospective price change at hand. One question could be asked for each of the four economic factors previously described. 1. Does the price change involve what the customer would consider a large amount of money? Second, will the buyer actually incur the full extent of the price change? Third, are the customers' switching costs low in the product category? 4. Are the customer search costs low in the product category? If the answer to each of these questions is a yes, then this economic factor would point toward a higher or greater brand price elasticity. If the answer to each of these questions is no, then this economic factor would point toward a lower brand price elasticity. Role of competitors in price change response. One of the key tasks in predicting the market response to a price change is to be able to anticipate how competitors will respond to the price change. The responses of these competitors are important because they determine how the price change will affect the price differentials between the company that initiates the price change and its competitors. The price differential between two competing companies is the difference in their prices for a particular product. There are three basic competitive stances. First, the competitor who holds a cooperative stance does not want to rock the boat. This competitor is satisfied with the current situation with respect to the price change initiator and prefers that things remain the same. Second, the competitor who maintains an aggressive stance wants to improve his or her position at the expense of the price change initiator. This competitor would like to see things change with respect to the initiator in the direction of the competitor's benefit. Third, the competitor who holds a dismissive stance feels that whatever the initiator does will not substantially affect him or her. This competitor simply ignores the price change initiator and makes no special response to the initiator's price change decision. To summarize those three, the cooperative competitor will be likely to match both the initiator's price increases and the initiator's price decreases. This is what is necessary to maintain the current price differential between the two companies. The attractiveness of the initiator price relative to that of the cooperative competitor will not change. The aggressive competitor to a price increase by the initiator will be to maintain the competing increase it by a smaller amount. The dismissive competitor will most likely maintain the product's price in response to the initiator's price change. Determining the stance of your competitors. Fundamental to anticipating
how competitors will react to a prospective price change is determining the competitive stance of each of your major competitors. Doing this involves collecting relevant information about each competitor. The information that most accurately reveals a company's competitive stance with respect to a price change initiator is the company's past behavior. The price change initiator should note how the competitor has responded to its price changes in the past. If the competitor has usually matched its increases and decreases, it suggests a cooperative stance. If the competitor has usually not followed the initiator's price increases or responded to the initiator's decreases with even larger decreases, it suggests an aggressive stance. If the competitor has failed to respond to the initiator's past price decreases as well as its increases, it suggests a dismissive stance. Because such historical information is rarely sufficient for clearly determining an organization's competitive stance, it is useful to supplement this information with some typical characteristics associated with each general competitive stance. Consider the following 4 competitive dimensions. First, relative size. Competitors of approximately equal size are likely to feel comparably powerful, which would tend to discourage the perception that an advantage could be gained by changing the price differential between them. Second, degree of brand differentiation. Lack of brand differentiation between two competitors would mean that changing the price differential between them would be likely to substantially change their relative market shares. This would support a cooperative stance by a competitor satisfied with its market share or an aggressive stance by a competitor interested in increasing its share. Third, differences in unit cost. Competitors with comparable per unit cost are likely to adopt a cooperative stance toward each other. A dismissive stance will often reward competitors who cut prices, and an aggressive stance will often tempt retaliation. The effect is that both a dismissive and an aggressive stance will tend to encourage price competition. Goals. A competitor's strategic goals will map onto its likely competitive stance. The goal of a company satisfied with its current sales level in a product category or without the excess capacity to expand will be to maintain its market share. Such a goal fits with a cooperative stance. Sources of competitive information. Familiarity with a variety of possible sources of information about a competitor can facilitate the process of determining its competitive stance and thus predicting the competitor's likely price change response. The most accessible of these sources of competitive intelligence is the marketplace itself. It is important to shop the competition, be aware of each competitor's prices. In the same vein, be aware of the messages communicated in each competitor advertising and the products and themes each competitor display at trade show. That's all. Thank you.
Communicating competitive information. In addition to appreciating the usefulness of collecting information about competitors, it is also important to recognize and understand the potential consequence of the price information that you communicate to competitors. As will be discussed in Chapter 15, explicit private communication with competitors about pricing, such as sitting down and having a talk, constitute illegal collusion and anti-competitive practice that could elicit severe penalties. However, a company cannot avoid at least some public communication of price information. So, the customer needs to have information on the price of the product they are considering, and both customers and investors can benefit from information from a company concerning its pricing intention and motive. Because such pricing information is public, it also constitutes communication to competitors. Price signaling strategies when this public available price-related information is intentionally managed to have an effect on competitors. It is known as price signaling. Price signaling typically uses the technique of publicity as opposed to paid advertising to communicate pricing information. So for example, the company can signal competitors through news release, press conference, giving the media access to company executive planting, articles in an op-ed page of major newspaper and through blogs and other materials post on the internet. The price signaling strategies most often mentioned tend to fall into three broad categories. So the first categories include strategies to signal competitive strength. Then, for example, a company might publish its intention to match or beat any price cuts intended by competitors. This might give pause to unaggressive competitors because such matching could prevent the favorable increase in the price differential that might have been intended by the competitors. Moreover, as a signal, rise the possibility that initiating a price cut might lead to price warfare, companies successively exceeding each other price cuts, which can drastically reduce profit for all of the warning competitors. Such willingness to match signal could be supplemented with evidence of the company ability to carry out price matching decrease. And then, for example, when its expensive new automated plant was complete, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber companies publicized the plant's capability that sharply reduced variable costs, and this communicate the company's formidable ability to lower price. And a second category of price signaling strategies involve signal to indicate that a company has limited goals for initiating a price decrease. This means that rather than being an attempt to take market share away from competitors, the goal of initiating a price cut is more limited. And then, for example, the company could communicate that it's using the price cut only to maintain its market share, which otherwise could be slipping, or it could signal that the goal of the cut could be to take advantage of high category price elasticity. In other words, to expand the market. Elisco Inc., a small supplier of inner threaded metal caps to consumer packaged good manufacturer, publicly announced that its price cuts were to complete only for their customers. Second source business, the small amount of business that manufacture a lot of small supplies as insurance against a distribution of their primary supply. In each of these limited goals signal the intended message to the company's competitors is there is no need to match this price cut. A third category of price signaling strategies involves the use of price signaling to encourage competitors to match a planned price increase. And then, for example, during a speech or media interview, a company executive could interpret a recent event, such as a backlog of orders, as indicating a need to raise price. This could suggest that competitors interpret any other backlog they may have in a similar way. Another possibility could be to avoid satisfaction for a price increase. And publicly noting an industry trend toward higher material costs could give competitors a satisfaction for also increasing price. Often a sufficient signal is simply to announce a planned price increase for ahead of time. Issue regarding price signaling. Because price signaling involves an intention to influence business its competitors. The question arises whether or not it is an illegal anti-competitive activity. As will be seen in Chapter 15, price signaling is in a legal gray area. Determination of its legality have hang on factors such as the circumstance of the signaling in it is seen in a market with only few large competitors and its consequence and thus the profitability of the product in question substance increase. Most regulatory attention regarding price signaling seems to be on signal for price increase such as those seen in the U.S. airline industry. Signals regarding price decrease appear less often questioned. Indeed, it could be agreed the signal of the limited goals of a price decrease could have pro-competitive effects to the extent that they serve to help protect weaker companies against overzealous stronger competitors. An important price signaling issue is the question of the degree to which it actually works. Price signaling is sometimes referred to in the economics literature as cheap talk. There is some evidence from laboratory research that such talk is likely to fall on deaf ear unless the competitors are already of one mind concerning goals and strategies.
Good day everyone, my name is Mutmain Salik and my report is all about communicating competitive information and applying game theory to managing price competition. Game theory to managing price competition. Behaviors themselves can communicate information. Game theory involves examining possible patterns of behavior in order to help predict and manage price competition. In addition to messages that are intentionally or unintentionally communicated about price and price-related plans and motives pricing. Determining the payoff. If we examine the matrix of figure 6.10, we can see how arrives the outcomes of payoff of each of the two players in each cells and the matrix. Let's say the company A and company B are approximately equal size competitors in a market that supports sales of $20 million per period or current price. Each company does have sales of $10 million per period. Suppose each company has variable costs that are 30% of current price. Suppose that neither of the two companies' products are well differentiated so that 10% price cut by one company will take away half of these sales of the other competitors when the other competitors does not match of the price. However, if there is a matching 10% price cut by the other competitors, then the market sales will be equally divided between the two competitors, playing repeatedly over time. How to capture the dynamics real price competition, add the knowledge that this game is played repeatedly over time. Because of this, cutting price takes on some new consequences if in the next period's company A choose to cut price, then even if the company B does not cut price in that next round of play company B is sure to do after that, then the company A cannot very well increase price. The two competitors would be vigilated for a sale number each making $1 million have earned if they had both maintained their prices, which would have keep on each sale number.